Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Mark Hyde.
And Chris Fuller.
And on today's episode, we're re-engaging the Focus series. But today, we're asking the question, and more so answering the question, why am I a Christian? Fuller, you ready?
Let's go.
Welcome to the party, Fuller.
What's going on, buddy?
We blooped really bad.
We did.
Is it a bloop? Is a blooper? If you actively do a blooper, is it called a bloop?
It's a blipper.
So we already tried this episode
Yes.
like another time, and I hit the unmute button too fast, and you hear Fuller going, like in the middle of the intro.
Well, I was being silly during the
And I
intro,
caught you.
and you got me again.
There's been so many times where I've unmuted you too
I'm gonna
fast.
take the board
or
away
I
from you.
for-
We're gonna flip flop here, buddy.
Or there was the one time where I forgot we were not muted, and I started saying stuff.
Okay, but not to call you out, but
Oh shoot! What did I do?
during the witchcraft and wizardry episode,
What did I do?
let's just say that everybody needs to go watch the YouTube video. Could you like pull a napkin out of your pocket and you're like picking your nose with the napkin?
Is it actually on the YouTube video?
It's on the YouTube video.
Shut up.
She's just like, what is he doing? No, Mark, don't. Oh, Mark. Sorry to call you out,
Shut
brother.
up. On the witchcraft and wizardry episode, I'm digging for gold.
You're digging for solid gold with your nap. At least you had a napkin around your finger.
That wasn't just like finger deep.
I was like, please don't eat it. Please don't eat it.
I mean, better than Evie. Like my daughter, she'll suck her thumb and then pick her nose with the other finger.
I have a picture of it.
Yeah, it's weird.
When she was sitting
man.
with me, she was
But
doing it.
so, fun fact, apparently I picked my nose on public YouTube videos.
Yeah.
If that does not give you enough reason why you should go watch our YouTube channel, I don't know what does.
This is real talk. I'm trying to gain some interest here in the YouTube channel.
Oh my
so
goodness. Well, hey,
go check out Mark.
We don't need content. We need Mark being an idiot on our YouTube channel. That's what we need.
You've caught me in my blippers. I've caught you in your blooper.
In my booger blooper, but either way,
it was
dude.
funny because I
goodness.
haven't watched or listened to an episode.
So the one time
all
you
second
watch,
season. And Janelle and her dad go, hey, let's watch the podcast. And I'm like, all right. I said, it's really awkward for me to watch myself and listen to myself. So like I was reading the book and then Janelle's like, he's not going to do that, is he? And I look up and here you are. I'm like, don't do it. Don't eat it.
well, I think this is proof that we all need to learn to laugh at ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, sorry to call you out, brother.
Was that at the beginning, or was that the fun facts with Fuller part? Like,
No, I think it was.
did I just forget that we were on camera?
You must have, because I don't know. And then you stuck it in your pocket. I
mean, I was dealing with a bad cold that night.
You were, but it was. Yeah, I'm gonna find it and show it to you. I'm gonna take a snapshot of it and send it to you, and we're gonna post it all over social media.
That's embarrassing. It's almost as embarrassing as the fact that we're not drinking coffee again tonight.
Well, we started off drinking coffee because we batch record, as we've said multiple times.
Yep.
And now you're drinking the LaCroix.
I'm drinking tangerine.
Not the Pommelmousse.
What is that?
Pampel?
Pamplemousse. It sounds like poop
Pamplem-
mousse. I always thought it was I'm like
Pamplemousse.
pamplemousse.
That's why I was playing around. You caught me earlier in the blipper.
And you're saying pamplemousse.
I said LaCroix Pamplemousse.
And you went, moo?
Oh
Oh man, we got to restart. But no, it's grapefruit. But that's my favorite one. The grapefruit. The pamplemousse is my favorite
Orange.
LaCroix right now.
LaCroix orange.
But I'm rocking tangerine. What are you rocking though?
I'm rocking the Aha lime and watermelon.
Well, right now I have a side part skinny jeans and drinking LaCroix. So if that's not millennial, I don't know what is. You know anything that I just said right now?
No.
There's a fight on TikTok about how Gen Z is all about how to spot a millennial. You look for skinny jeans, a side part, and they listed other things. And I'm like, well, first off, I'm not taking fashion advice from someone who eats Tide Pods. Second, I'm basically a Gen Z anyway, so it's kind of just funny.
We
I'm on that
don't eat
borderline.
Tide Pods. We smoke bath salts.
That's true. Us millennials, we were weird. Bath salt dude in Florida. Oh, that was some weird crap.
That was the
But either
witchcraft and
way,
wizardry. Anyways,
we are back, ladies and
we
gentlemen.
are. And you know what we have?
we brought
have
the app again.
we have question in a box. So
Do you remember the old out of the box, Out of the box. It was on PBS.
Was it called Out of the Box?
I don't know. It was just wasn't that how the jingle went? Out of the box, or am I?
Yeah, but I thought it was. I thought it was.
Out of the box.
Man, I just said like
Out of the box. You good?
Yeah,
You good? You good?
I'm repeating myself. Anyways, I thought it was part of
Someone had a little too
another.
much Taco Bell before podcasting.
I didn't have any Taco
I know
Bell.
it's just funny to make fun of you and Taco Bell because you love Taco Bell.
I do love me. Anyways, so let's go with the good friends this time.
Okay.
We're gonna go with good friends. All right, here's the question: are you ready? Get off your phone.
I'm looking Out of the Box song. It actually was the Out of the Box from was it? I don't know if it was Disney or old school Disney. Out of the Box.
All right.
Anywho, we were kids. Keep going. All right, I'm ready. So this is the friends category.
Well, yeah, I'm not. Yeah, but I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to ask you this question, but I already know the answer to both of. I know both of our answers.
Okay.
Because we're smart. We're smart, married men.
Okay, I'm ready.
What is the most beautiful thing you have ever seen?
Besides myself?
My wife.
You mean besides myself? Wow. Who's that sexy thing standing in the mirror?
Beth, if you need directions to the
that's
courthouse.
Me. Staring in the mirror. Like that's Megan Trainor's song.
Anyways.
That's my girl's favorite song right now. But anywho, most beautiful thing I have ever seen, yes, is my wife.
Yeah, see. I told you. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one. What aspect of yourself are you most insecure about?
Oh. What aspect of myself am I most insecure about?
Yeah.
Oh. Dude, that's
Man, we're getting personal.
How did we go from the most beautiful thing I've ever seen to what are you insecure about?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
I'll be real on Real Talk.
Okay.
I'm most insecure about my weight.
Really?
I'm a fat kid. I always have been. So I make fun of myself.
You've always joked that you're the fat kid.
Because to hide my insecurity. I'm weird like that.
Really?
Yeah. When I'm awkward, when there's an awkward thing, or I just joke because I don't know what else to do.
That's fair.
So yeah, that's mine.
I think mine would be is the fact of when I'm with people, do people actually like me or they just show me pity? I think I'm most insecure about my relationship with others. Like, do people actually want to be with me right now? That's one thing I'm very insecure about.
I want to be with you. Here, let me move the mic in here real close. There you go, buddy. Anyways.
Yep. That's one thing. The other thing, I think part of it too is even though I talk a lot, I'm not great with words. Like I can't say certain words like sixth grader or ask. I have to emphasize the or I cuss on the podcast. So
I'm sorry.
I fumble over my words a lot. So
that's right. Do you know what I noticed I do on the podcast
what?
After watching a little bit of that?
Pick your nose? No, that's me. What am I most insecure about? People seeing me pick my nose.
When I listen to you intently, I do this. I like stare off into space and like I get this like just completely blank look. I'm intentionally listening.
You look like you had some melatonin.
But I'm looking like I'm either high on drugs and like I don't care what you're saying because I'm literally looking off in the distance just like this and going, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
And I say right a lot. Right. All the time. It's really stupid of me.
I caught one of my filler words. I don't remember what it was. And I said it to Beth and she was like, yeah, I was going to tell you that because you say it a lot.
Is it?
No. See, what happened was, there's a phrase I know I'm going to say it in this episode. And when I do, I'm going to stop and say, that's the word. That's my thing I say all the time.
Janelle's pointed out a few of our filler words.
Our filler words?
Yeah, she's like, yeah, Mark says that all the time. Oh, you say that. Oh, Mark says that. Oh, you say that all the time.
Yep.
I'm like, well, we just suck then.
But we do not say a lot.
No, we do not.
Nope. That's one thing we have worked very hard
but
not
you
to
know,
but
anyways,
that was a really good question. What are we most insecure about?
It is.
That's a really good question to get to know each other.
See, I'm looking down, like not at the camera. I'm looking at the tripod.
Yep.
I randomly look different places other than the camera or you.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm looking through right now.
Did you just say that's really cool?
That's a filler word right there. When I don't know what to say, I didn't pay attention to what you said. Because I was looking to make sure.
So that's cool, man. Like,
well, I'm looking because, again, people, we don't have a review.
No reviews.
And I was looking through my Instagram DMs to see if I caught anything. Now, this isn't a review. This was just a funny conversation because back in middle of February, I posted a story where it's one of those like
change my mind
ones where it's church coffee is never good. Change my mind. And I posted it, and one guy wrote back, and he's like, "We have refinery coffee at my church, like refinery from Goshen. That's what they drink at their church.
Everybody can't be Bucci like you.
No, I mean at our church we have Kingdom Growers. We drink Kingdom Growers. It's a little weak, but all the proceeds go towards digging wells.
If
overseas.
Riverside would, throw a little money RTC's way, they could drink some RTC coffee at church and buy a big roaster that I could roast 28 pounds at a time.
Oh, that'd be pretty dope.
I found one the other day, a roaster that roasts 28 pounds at a time, $2,000. So
we need a computer. We need a new computer so our live stream doesn't look so glitchy.
So it's like
it looks great on the camera, but when you look there, it doesn't look good.
I never knew it was that glitchy until I watched the episode, and it was like,
we're trying, guys, but we have literally no money. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. If someone has like $700 for us to buy a new camera or new computer for us to work, yo, send it. We need it.
Or just send us the computer, Mac Mini.
Mac Mini. I want a Mac Mini because that's what we're using right now. We're using an old one, and it ain't going so well. So
you know what? It is what it is. The Lord will provide.
I mean, we can't provide tax giving statements because we're not a non-for-profit, but we're not anything. We're not even a for-profit.
We're a hobby.
We're a hobby.
Hobbyists. If you want to go to the tax world,
that's true. That's true. We're hobbyists. But either way,
and actually, if we were a business,
that's what I say. But either way, I say that one all the time. But either way,
anyways.
Yep. Told you I was going to say it. So either way, there you go. I said it. So
okay, I got another one. That's yours. At the end of the day, you say that a lot.
At the end of the day.
Yep. So at the end of the day,
I say that one. I say that at the end of the day, and that's not my closing thought.
So anyways,
so we've already got to know us a little bit. We've confessed that we're not drinking coffee again. My coffee brothers and sisters. I'm sorry. You have to forgive us for our trespasses.
Go back to last week's episode.
There you go. But today we're talking about the question of, and not even really a question. It's more of a statement of, why am I a Christian? So why are you a Christian, Fuller? Like that's
a question.
That is. It's like, so why are you a Christian? This is a thought that popped up in my head when I was driving around. So Beth and I did our engagement photos and family photos, and I had to drive for like 2.5 hours. It was a ridiculous day. So I had a lot of time to think in the car. So I was like, I listen to the Unbelievable podcast all the time with Justin Briley. We talk about it where they pit normally a believer and unbeliever together, and they have these conversations, and it's not always just an unbeliever.
Yeah, sometimes they do like progressive Christianity versus like Reformation.
Or they've done like young Earth creationists versus old Earth or theistic evolution. Like they do all these different conversations, and I love it because it keeps you to think.
I've said right like 6 times now.
Right.
I'm not right.
All right.
See, I'm right there with you.
There you go. But in these conversations, they always come back to there's two people who are going against each other. One, a lot of times it's normally a Christian and like an atheist or an agnostic or a universalist or something like this in terms of all these different things, and they're always going against each other. And I was starting to think, I'm like, okay, so if one of these guys came against me and said, so Mark, why are you a Christian? Why do you believe what you believe? Don't you see this and 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 this? And I said, okay, would I be able to concisely answer why I'm a Christian? And more than just you and I, because this is one of those things where, and I'm not trying to put us on a different pedestal or a different plane.
Well, maybe.
But there's a lot of people out there. We were one at one time where you grew up in the church, and if someone said, why are you a Christian? This is a big Catholic answer. So if you grew up Catholic, this is a big one of, why are you a Catholic? And the answer is like, well, I was born into the church and I was baptized in the church. That's why I'm a Catholic. And that times a lot of goes into the Protestant world as well. Why are you a Christian? It's like, well, that's just what I am. That's just what we do, right? Now, I understand that in the culture we're living in, it's kind of like a post-Christian world where the upcoming generation is the first generation where their parents, the older millennials, did not go to church and have a church background.
Not necessarily.
Well, it's the most post-Christian we've ever been.
I think it's hit or miss.
Well, either way. Either way. That's the other thing I say. I say either way a lot. There you go.
We're going to totally
This is going to be so bad. We're going to nitpick the crap out of ourselves this episode. And I promise I will try not to pick my nose. You can pick you can't resist. You can't pick your family, but you can pick your nose.
There he was. He touched his nose.
Goodness, that's a.
Anyways, man.
But either way, but answering this question, I'm like, okay, so maybe there's someone out there in listener land where they're young, they're a teenager, or maybe they're a young adult, maybe they're an older folk, the boomers or the Gen X or whatever. And at the end of the day, they're like, you know what? If someone came up against me and said, why are you a Christian? I don't know if I could give a right answer. Or not just the right answer, but I don't know if I could actually give a solid reason besides just the fact of, it's just what I believe. So I figured, I don't know how long this conversation is going to be. I literally, if you look at this,
I see.
Besides a couple notes, I only have, I walked in with 4 questions. That's it.
I see that. And then you walk with like
With a bunch of quotes to wrap it up.
Wow.
So this is a true conversation that I want you and I to have.
We both just did like
We did. It's because we're lazy. Not really.
Not really.
No, but at the end of the day, I figured this would be kind of fun for you and I to talk a little bit, Fuller, about like, this is kind of for us to share our hearts a little bit.
All
like,
right.
in the first episode, we talked about the very, very, very first.
Back way on back.
Back way on back. The very first episode was, we basically told our stories, and can God still use us? Wasn't that? I don't remember what the exact title of the very first episode
I'm gonna
was.
look. I'm gonna.
It's
look.
not Nevernote, I don't think.
Yeah, I thought. Oh no, it wasn't.
So we
right.
didn't use Evernote at first.
Oh,
we were just
like
using
the first 10
Apple Notes or whatever.
Yeah, we used I wrote stuff down on pieces of paper.
Back in the juvenile days.
Back-
but either way, in the very
back in
first
the
episode, we shared our stories with the people a little bit. So if you haven't heard the first episode, the quality's not as good. But at the end of the day, our
it
stories are
wasn't
still
bad.
there. But it's been a long time since you and I just sat down, brother to brother,
And just had a conversation.
and just had a conversation about, what, Fuller, so why are you a Christian, bro?
We kind of did that last week with forgiveness. But yeah, does my past affect my future was episode 1.
Right, because we both talked about our past.
August 1st,
Yeah.
2019.
Dang. It's been almost 2 years,
it
ladies
released.
and gentlemen. But, so I figured this would just be a good question, a conversation of, so when did you become a Christian? Why are you a Christian? And these are these last two are the ones that I think about a lot is, are there any parts of Christianity that you personally struggle with? And then the last question is, what's one thing you wish unbelievers knew about Christians? So that's it. So Fuller, I'm curious, bro.
Oh, bro.
So when did you, when would you say, when did you decide to when did you realize that you were part of the elect?
I have decided. Oh, I thought that was right.
That was beautiful.
No.
That was beautiful. You hit that note. I should have put some reverb on your voice.
No, let's not.
I can put
do
some
that.
reverb.
You're gonna.
Watch this.
I have decided to follow Jesus. Anyways, all righty then.
We're back to normal. But so seriously, Fuller,
No,
so when did you decide to follow Jesus, bro?
So I was baptized in. It was September 14th, 1997.
Dang, I was 5, bro.
So I was 8 years old.
Back when you were a young whippersnapper.
Back on in my day, we actually had a baptismal and
In the church. Y'all weren't wearing them skinny jeans and having them.
I actually
side
was baptized at it's now Deer Run First Church of Christ.
Oh, over there in Ironwood.
Yeah, so they weren't there. They were down this way off of Miami
I don't think I knew that. Okay.
back in the day.
So before they moved buildings, you were baptized there at 8.
right back in 1997, September 14th. I still have my certificate.
I wasn't given a certificate.
But that doesn't mean I fully understood what the Christian life entailed.
okay.
That probably wasn't until 2014 when I grew up in church. I was baptized at 8. I went through life being raised by Christians and first generational Christians and do the church world. And then I started to slip because I started going off on my own and being my rebellious stage. That's when I got into drugs and premarital sex and
everything. Partying.
Yeah. So everything else that,
Down in Florida.
yeah. So that was all probably started taking place about 2009. So there's like a 5-year stretch where I wasn't making my calling and election sure.
Last episode.
I'm a 4-point Calvinist, so I believe that I was always predestined to be the elect, but because I'm not God, I don't know if I am predestined, so I have to make sure my calling and election sure.
But anywho, but you were not living the way you should be living.
I was definitely not. So So when did I become a Christian? I had the faith. I did the confession. I was baptized. I was, I fully believed in 97. So, but I've had some oopses along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my answer.
That's cool.
I had my reawakening in 2014.
Your reawakening. I like it. This is it's always a hard
It's a
question
hard
to
one.
answer because, I look back and if someone said, so Mark, when did you decide to follow Jesus? I said, well, I realized the reality of everything when I was 8. like you, third grade. So it's 8 or 9, something like that. And, my dad had on a Southern Gospel album. And on that album, it was a song playing. And it was I've talked about it on the podcast. It wasn't a bad, you're going to go to hell and burn if you don't follow Jesus. But it's the fact of when Jesus comes back, this is what it's going to be like. I can't wait to be with Jesus. And I'm like, yo, I don't know if I'm going to be with Jesus, Dad. Like, I don't know. And this was right after Awana. So, I grew up in the church, Christian school. Mom was a Christian school teacher. Dad was a deacon, and basically old school Baptist deacon. So he was an elder. He wasn't just a deacon. Yeah. So he was head of the deacon board by the age of like 28, 29, something like that. Wow. Nuts. Absolute crazy. So I was birthed in the church.
Right.
And so, 8 years old, I would say that's definitely was it. And I didn't get baptized until I was probably 12. I was sixth grade. I was in 6th grade when I got baptized. But you know what, dude? I look back and it's like I had some really rough patches, Like, I mean, I would say I got serious about my faith when I was 16. When I was a sophomore, junior, somewhere in that gap. That's when I started getting really for serious. And then
for serious?
For serious. And then I decided that I was going to pursue full-time ministry when I was around 17. Between that 16 to somewhere in that 16 to 18 realm. But it's like at the end of the day, I still struggled with sin after that. And I still dealt with all the various things. Whether it was, controlling my temper, whether it was controlling my words, whether it was keeping my hands to myself, or all these other different things, and I've always looked back and I go, okay, so when was I saved? Was I ever really saved? Did I actually get saved when I was 16 when I said, God, no, I'm going to follow you with whatever you want me to do, rather than when I was 8. So I'm like, oh, shoot, do I need to get baptized again? So honestly, I struggled with that over the years.
So you've struggled with the Arminius debate.
Yeah. but at the end of the day, if someone said, Mark, so when did you become a Christian? I was like, I realized who Jesus was and who I was not without him at the age of 8, baptized when I was about 12, and then actually started getting for serious at 16. So that's kind of that's where my history kind of goes right there.
Okay.
So,
well, I mean, what I would say to both of us, right? We both sound like we have similar stories, except for I went a little bit more extreme.
I don't know what drugs are besides Tylenol and ibuprofen.
I went way more extreme, and at a lot older age and for a lot longer. Mm-hmm. But the thing I come back to is that even the demons know that God is God and right. believe, but there's a difference.
They don't put their faith in following Jesus.
There's something that separates that because they're fallen angels because of them. I mean, they believe God is God. They understand who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, they still obey him. When Jesus says, hey, go.
Like they went. They go.
They went. So the term, when did I become a Christian? I think that's more of like, it's hard. It's hard to define because if you really think about it, like to me, I would say I was a Christian because I believe that I'm elected of God, right? So there was a path that God set me on that I was going to turn to him. He knew I was going to turn to him because of the influence he would have, and he would direct me and things would happen to me, but yet he always went out after the lost sheep,
right?
Because of one of his. And so when was I a Christian? Well, I believe we're talking about an issue of time. And so if we're talking about an issue of time, I'd probably say 2014. But if we're talking a position of God, I've always been. I've always been his child because I'm elect, I believe. I believe one of his sheep. I was born into the flock. So
okay, so maybe this will go into the next question that we started the show with. When we asked the 4 questions is, and you started leaning into it a little bit, but more the question of, okay, so Fuller, why are you a Christian? What? And this is, I'm thinking of that 1 Peter verse that we talked about in various episodes where it's always be prepared to give an answer for the hope that you have. Mm-hmm. Not be prepared to give an answer, but be prepared for why you have the hope.
Right.
So this is kind of the whole be prepared to give an answer. Mm-hmm. So I'm making sure you're prepared, bro. Mm-hmm. So if someone said, so dude Fuller, so why are you a Christian? Why did you choose this route and not another route? Like if someone asked you that just on the street, what would you say?
So I go back to what I was touching on with the first question of that I believe, sorry about that, people. I believe that
was beautiful.
God has directed my steps, right? So it's not that I am a Christian because of anything that I've done, but because God has opened my eyes and revealed himself to me, right? He has directed my steps so that I would choose him. He's made my mind, my emotions, all in this funneling direct path to funnel to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, again, I'm a Calvinist.
Right.
that's I mean, I believe in predestination and election. So I believe everything that happens to us to direct us to a path. And that's the path to him. And so I'm a Christian because he has chosen me for whatever reason, nothing of my own. It's a free gift that he's done for me. And he has chosen, not I, but he has chosen to reveal himself to me via the Holy Spirit. That's why I'm a Christian.
Now, would you answer someone who's not a believer with that same answer?
No,
because that's the truth.
It's
because I struggle with that because I believe. I mean,
there's a difference between talking. How often do we talk Christianese? I throw out justification, sanctification. Would I say that to a unbeliever? No, because they're gonna be like, what?
What are those words?
Like justified, like
justice.
Yeah, okay, I understand that, but like, yeah. So, yeah, it's a little bit of Christian.
And also, hindsight's 20/20. You can look back and look behind you and see all the ways God has brought you here.
But I would explain to the person, I'd say, look, God has directed your steps to this time, this place, this meeting right here. God has directed your steps through your entire life, has led to this moment, and God's saying, take my hand now. God has directed you to this, so now are you going to say yes or no? I mean, God already knows. I don't know. I'm called to preach the gospel, the good news, right? But that's just because I'm supposed to obey. There's an obedience factor, and I think that's why we have to do it. So, but I would say, yeah, hey, this is your moment in time. Choose today whom you're going to serve.
Right.
And that's where I would leave it.
So do you think some of the conversation nowadays goes, okay, well, cool, yeah, homie, that's good for you, but that ain't true for me. And that's where I think a lot of the Christian atheist debate is we're living in a relative society.
Well,
the truth is relative to what you want.
But it's not.
Oh, I agree.
But it's not. Like, we know it's not, and that's what I would say. Well, that's true. So if truth is relative, then if I took out my gun here and say 3 seconds and shot you in the head, well, I'm unjustified and it's okay. It's a just shooting because truth is relative. Does that make sense? Or is there a line? Is there a line that says this is wrong and this is right, right? And where does that line come from? Well, the morality of God. God sets up the standard. Now, we like to play like we're God.
Right.
And we like to try to be polytheistic in our ways and say, hey, I'm a God, you're a God, your mom's a God, he's a God. We're all gods, which is polytheism. But we're not. There's one God.
Right.
And he sets up the standards. And we've broken the standards. And when you break a standard, if you break a law in this country, what happens? If you kill somebody, what happens?
My butt gets thrown in jail.
Your butt or death, depending on if you're in a state with the death penalty. Okay, so what's going to get you out of that? Nothing, right? There's no pardon for that. Most of the time.
Because you broke the law.
You took a life, right? You destroyed something. Well, we did the same thing. we destroyed something. We destroyed ourselves. We killed ourselves by our sin. And so because of that, we have to be punished. And it's not a just God saying, well, I'm sending all these people to hell. It's saying, no, you did this to yourself. You made these choices.
And because of our choices, Jesus had to come and die for us.
Right. And this is what you deserve. You deserve hell. But tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'm going to send my son to die on the cross for his sins. And he's going to pay that penalty, right? He's going to pay those debts, all those evil things. He's paying them. All you have to do is take his hand. You have to admit, believe, and confess the ABCs, right? Admit that you're a sinner. Believe that Jesus Christ is the Lord of Lords, King of Kings, ruler of the universe, is the one and true God. And confess. Confess
that Jesus is Lord.
Confess it all, yeah. And okay, and then if you want to throw another B in there, baptize. but those are the things. I mean, it's all about faith, right? So that's all you got to do. So Christ is saying, take my hand. Now it's your choice. What are you going to take his hand or not? You can choose that. I think God already knows what you're going to choose, and he's probably directed and shaped your mind in what you're going to choose. And I don't know if I'd tell them that at that point. I mean, there's a way that you break it down to them. You know, when you're a baby.
Again, it's hindsight's 20/20.
Well, when you're a baby, right? We look at.
Even the Apostle Paul, when I was a boy, I thought like a boy when I'm a man.
Right. Well, and the Apostle Paul, was it Apostle Paul? Or was it somebody? Who was it? No, it wasn't the Apostle Paul, was it? Talked about spiritual milk when you should be eating spiritual meat. That was Paul. Mm-hmm. So a person that's not saved, they're not even babies. Do you force feed them meat? No. No, you break it down nice and simple for them, just like I just did. And then as they grow in the faith, then you start bringing in, hey, listen, you really don't. God directs your steps. God gives you each breath. God lets you wake up each morning.
I wish I didn't realize this conversation was going to go this way, because the other day on Facebook in one of the groups I'm in, I don't remember which group it was, but there was a graph, and the idea is the fact of the more knowledge you have of how God works, the more humble you are, because you understand what the truth really is and how little and sinful you really are. Because at first you're like, oh, dude, God, like, awesome, thank you. I don't know very much, but you feel like you're like, this is awesome. But then there's a climactic point where all of a sudden you start to flip.
They think that God's like a party gift giver, and they can take the gift or not. And then as your understanding and your growth comes, you go, oh, he was the party gift giver, and actually I was just the bag that he put the party gift in.
I like it.
So
I like it.
That's how I would. That's why I'm a Christian. That's how I would give an account for Christianity, and that's basically what I would share. In a nutshell, real quick.
And this is where it's cool, because I know you're very much you're a heart and soul guy, and I tend to get stuck in the intellectual world. And that's not always a good thing. Right. Let's be honest with you. It's not always a good thing to get stuck in the philosophical debates.
And they've got their place.
Right. But I wrote down a few things in my head where the fact of, why am I a Christian? I'm like, well, okay, so this is one of the few religions out there where it's not works-based. A lot of other religions revolve around karma, the yin and the yang, the good outweighs the bad. Christianity is the fact of, you can try all you want, but your good ain't going to do nothing. Mm-hmm. How are you going to get there? Mm-hmm. It's for by grace you've been saved through faith, and it's grace all the way through. It's grace alone, through faith alone, by the scriptures alone, through Jesus alone. It's all the solas.
Solus scriptura.
Oh, to the glory of God alone. I forgot sola gratia. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's the religious base. And then more than that, Andy Stanley, I thought this was super cool. In one of his recent sermon series, he goes, when someone says they're God and then they raise again from the dead and prove it, we probably should listen to what they have to say.
Maybe just a little.
Maybe just a little bit. And I like that perspective, because he starts with, okay, let's start with the resurrection. All right, so Jesus rose again from the dead. What does that mean? And everything goes from there, because it makes sense of the Old Testament, and it makes sense of the New, and it makes sense of what's to come.
Right. The problem is how you're going to prove that Christ rose from the dead. That's the first
because there's even people out there where it's like, you can give me all the quote unquote proofs you want, I'm still not going to believe it.
Well,
and that's where
not even that, but it's even hard to, with the amount we have. We do have some things that prove, but then they come back. So we go like Josephus. Well, Josephus talks about Christ, right? But then you go, well, that was later added by the church. Like the writings of Josephus, that portion about Christ, that was added by the Catholic Church later. See how
there's always these little
come up with an excuse.
Right.
Yeah, they'll come up with an excuse for anything. So saying, okay, well, so how you prove it? Well, at some point, it's better.
At some point, you got to have that faith, because faith is the what
substance
is it?
of the things hoped for and the things not seen, or whatever.
Right, but it's not just the evidence of things hoped for.
Right, there you go.
It basically is the fact of, it goes back to the Indiana Jones jumping on the bridge of, I've seen enough, but you still have to make the jump. But honestly, it takes faith to be an atheist. It takes faith to be an agnostic. It takes faith to literally be anything.
Right.
But we don't think it's faith, because atheism is a baseline, because all of us are born little sinners.
Right.
All of us. Well, no one seeks after
what's
God.
atheism? Atheism says, I am God.
Right.
Right.
It's not just the fact that there is no God.
And it's funny because they go, well, I don't believe in God. Well, yes, you do. You believe you are God of your own self. That's what you believe. So you believe you're God. So you do believe, and you actually have more faith because you say you have control, but you don't.
Because everything in this world comes from something, but you say at the end of the day, it all comes from nothing.
Right.
There's a lot of faith that you got to jump to do that.
Right. Yeah, a lot of faith.
And that goes back to that conversation, and that kind of goes into my last little thing that that I think about a lot is Christianity explains how the world was created, why it's broken, and why we're in the current state that we're in. You look at intelligent design, the fact of how the world was created. I mean, even modern evolutionists actually dropped, and so Christians stop using this argument, but the modern evolutionists actually will say that they believe, oh yeah, okay, sure, things did not happen by chance because it was survival of the fittest and things got better and better and better and better and better. But at the end of the day, it's still okay, but what caused it?
Right.
Like.
So where did it all begin?
Where did it all begin? Like our world is so logical.
They say, well, see, these molecules from millions and billions of years ago started moving erratically and exploded.
Right, like photosynthesis, how the body reheals itself. I mean, you can take veins out of your body and then they just figure out where to reconnect.
Yeah, they redirect flow, and
that's some weird crap.
We don't even understand everything. I mean,
nor we never will.
Right, exactly.
Now, this is now again, this is where science argue with the fact of, we talked about this with science and faith, where everything that we used to not be able to explain, we just attributed to faith. So as we started to know more, it pushed faith out of the room.
Actually, it's doing this. We think this is the illusion, is that it's doing this.
Right.
Really, it's doing this.
Exactly, right. And that's the thing, is faith is supposed to be the foundation, with science being of the room, not
the more we know, the less we know.
Right.
And the more faith we have to have,
because it just keeps going. Right, it keeps going.
And
that's
that's
super
the thing.
cool.
That's why I say faith increases at twice the speed as the knowledge increases.
At least it should.
That's what is happening.
Should. And a lot of scientists that way.
As I understand the body, I don't understand why the electrical connections make the way they do. Like,
but they do. Like, your brain has, and you can create new pathways for your brain to travel.
Right.
With your thought process.
Right.
Some weird stuff, man.
I mean, they understand more, but the more they understand, the less they understand.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And then, the last thing, just going back to why it is the way it is, that goes back to the moral argument of, if we believe in evolution, if we believe in survival of the fittest, no one should have a problem with racism. No one should have a problem with supremacy. No one should have a problem with the poor people or this person or that person, because you're just weaker. So if you don't deserve to be here, sorry. And I'm not saying, I want to make sure I say it, I don't believe that. I want to make sure that's loud and clear. But I'm just saying the fact of, if we all came from nothing, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's literally survival of the fittest. Why do we take care of the poor and the weak and the lonely?
Right.
Like my daughter who has cerebral palsy.
Right.
If she's weak, I should not be making sure she's okay.
Exactly, because that's just making society weaker, and we're not being able to evolve.
But what's the reality? We do care.
Right.
And the answer is,
why do we care? Yeah, because God cares.
Now, I mean, I heard some people say where it's like, well, we shouldn't be arguing if we should or not. We just should. But, my mind goes back to the moral argument of, where's the baseline of morality? Because if it's a relative term, people
anything
go,
goes.
well, it's the betterment of society. Great. Hitler thought getting rid of Jews was better for his society, but the whole world deemed that evil, and it is.
We have a society that thinks getting rid of babies is a good thing right now. We have all sorts of stuff that is wrong,
right,
on this basis of God standing, that we just whatever.
But we both agree with that. The fact of, where is the line,
right.
And so,
who makes the fact and the argument of where the line is at? Like, who sets the standard?
If it's me, it's wherever I want it to be.
Yeah, exactly. If it's just based on society and rule of the mob, well, I can get enough people together and brainwash them and make them believe whatever I want. So does that mean it's right? No. Right. There's a moral line, and everybody has that line they won't cross.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are. There's always a line that you're not.
And the answer is why, and it goes back to because we're made in God's image.
Right.
And so when I look at the question of, okay, Mark, so why are you a Christian? Yes, I understand spiritually my condition, and I understand spiritually what it means for God to call the elect, and for Him to call unto Himself whom He wills, and He preordestined that will be called the children of God. Mm-hmm. But on the intellectual level, for the conversation, it's the fact of, it is what makes sense of the world, and and this is why I got the various quotes, and there's the C.S. Lewis quote. And in fact, the way most people do it is actually wrong. I found out it is actually a wrong interpretation of his quote. But the quote that C.S. Lewis actually said is, I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun is risen. not only because I see it, but because by it I see everything else. So the idea is the fact of Christianity. Yeah, I believe it not just because I see it for myself, but it makes the whole world around me make sense. And that's kind of where I'm at with Christianity. And it's one of those things where this is where my struggle is, I drive around South Bend all the time. I was thinking about that today. I'm driving around South Bend. I'm like, I probably have passed 1,000 people in the last little bit between driving on the bypass, driving on Mayflower, driving on
houses,
all these different places.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I drove by thousands of people today. How many of them have even, like, do they even care? We think of a large church nowadays as 250 people. Bro, that ain't even a community. Like, right. I got like a couple hundred people just within this little tiny, like, couple roads that I live on, Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, for us as Christians, this is where I struggle the most. Oh, I guess that goes into the next question of what do you struggle with Christianity?
Well, there you go.
Is the fact of I look around at the world and I go, man, that's a lot of people. And I'm one who I see the elephant and I tend to shut down, where it's just, that's a lot of work. I don't know where to begin, so I'm just going to sit, which is not the work. And then there's other people out there where I knew a pastor who he was like bound and determined to see 1 million people come to follow Jesus through his ministry. He crashed and burned hard because he pushed so hard that he ended up losing his family over it. And it's like, that's not right either.
Nope.
So what do we do? And the Christian answer is, well, God does what God wants to do, but we're so called to go be the hands and the feet,
Got to be the vessel.
Right, and that's
willing
what you
to be used.
And that's just it. Is I didn't bring this quote here, but C.H. Spurgeon one time said that it's not my job to save people. I'm only going to be held to account for if I gave the message of the gospel and how well did I present it. Like, right. That's what LaCroix burp. That's what I'm responsible for, is did I present it? Because, it's the whole idea of you can lead a horse to water, but it's up to the horse to drink.
So you
can even bring the horse to the water if you want. You can soak the hose. You can soak the horse with the hose of water. Wow, that was a tongue twister. But it doesn't mean he's going to drink it. He can keep his mouth shut.
Right. So this reminds me of a parable, and I'm probably not going to get it right. And I don't even remember where I
Is it like a Jesus parable or a different parable?
No, I don't. It's not a Jesus parable, and I don't even remember where it comes from or why I heard it or anything.
Okay.
And maybe it'll spark something you'll remember, and I don't even know if I'm going to tell it right. But there was this man, and he had 2 water vessels on the back of his cart. And it would go a mile down the road to the well to get water in these vessels each day. And the vessels are cognizant of each other. They know that they're each other there. And one is old and broken down and has cracks through it. And one is a brand new jug, right?
Okay, right.
And the guy fills both jugs. Well, on the way back, the broken jug continues to lose water, right? So it's losing water because it's got cracks in it. It's old. And it's wondering, man, I wish I was like this other vessel that has itself all together and that it has no cracks and it can hold the water, because I'm just losing water. And it goes back and forth. And this goes on and on and on and on. And the vessel one day asks the guy who fills the vessels, why do you continue to use me? I'm cracked. I'm broken. I don't, by the time we get back, I only have a quarter of the water that you filled me with. Why? And the guy that fills the water jug says, hey, next time we're driving, look at the road. And as they go back to drive to get water, he looks at the road. And what was once a desert road is now blossomed with flowers and grass, because as he was traveling back and forth, he was watering. But he thought he was broken. He didn't think he was making any impact. And so that's where it kind of reminds me back on that of, you're talking about, well, it's the big thing and it's this big elephant. And to me, it's like, well, you can look at it that way, or you can look at it like I looked at it for a while of, man, I'm a sinful person. I'm broken. How can I ever reach out to anybody? Like, I struggle with so much. How can I help anybody? And when you look at it, if you just are used by God, we don't know the purpose why.
It's the journey more than the destination.
Well, right. But we don't know why God's filling this and what's happening along the way, how we're touching people by living our lives or just being who we are. But we might be watering. We might be
planting. Who knows?
Helping people grow. Right, exactly. And I don't remember where I heard that parable from, but it's always stuck in my mind of, you know what? It's not that I have to be this spectacular, awesome, super Christian. It's that I have to be willing to be used by God. So, sorry. That's just
I like
a little
that.
rabbit trail there.
So to end the conversation, what is one thing that you wish unbelievers knew about Christians and Christianity?
I think that unbelievers have this notion that Christians are the same Christians from 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, even 100 years ago, and that Christians are all the same. And the Christians that do wrong, the televangelists that steal from people, they are all the same. We're all lumped in, and we're not. We're all human. We all make mistakes. So the mistakes of Christians, I wish they knew that we're humans and we make mistakes, and the only difference between me and you is that God. It's just God. It's the grace that was given to me through faith, not of myself. It was a gift. And so that's what I wish. I wish they knew that, hey, I'm just as bad and broken as you are.
Well, it's the old Mark Lowry quote. I'm just a beggar telling another beggar where to get the bread.
Right. There you go. Yep. Perfect way to sum that up. So that's what I would wish that unbelievers knew about Christians. Anyways, what about you, buddy?
My turn. So
He's like, are you going to ask?
Well, no. I just want to make sure you guys say what you guys say, boss.
I'm done. That was my final thought.
At the end of the day, no, I'm kidding. I had to get my tagline. You know the old song, When the Saints Go Marching In?
Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching. Are you going to do this every time I start singing?
Every time I start singing, I'm going to hit your reverb. But yeah, you know the old Saints.
Yeah.
So Andy Mineo, he's one of my favorite rappers. Andy Mineo, Tripoli, 116, Lecrae. That's my stuff.
No, I don't know.
Well, you should know. But anyway, so Andy Mineo, he had a song years ago, and it's called The Saints, and it's a play off of When the Saints Go Marching In, and that's the chorus. But everything points back to when the saints come marching in. And the whole idea is the fact of not just when the saints come marching into heaven, but when the saints walk into your community, what that means. And in one of the verses, and I thought this was super cool, he goes, okay, I get it. I know what they're thinking. We some kumbaya singing corny Christians, keep your distance. Buy a ticket to a concert, pay a visit. Think it's odd. We them Blue Brothers 116, which is their hip hop group, but 116, not ashamed of the gospel of Christ for the power of salvation, on a mission from God. I don't think they get it. I really think what they got to do is see it to believe it. I wasn't planning on leaving them. Give me the microphone with no gimmicks. I'm really living it. So when they come in and don't know to get up on the evidence, I mean, he was rapping really fast here. You ever want to get it? Well, tell them to come and get it. I point them to God and tell them we're really with him. They think I'm tripping because I'm living for more than just rapping, but that's what happens when the saints come marching in. And the whole idea with that, the fact is, it's the fact of, at the end of the day, what I wish Christians would do is to, when they say they follow Jesus, that they go out and they live like it. And that's where my thought is, because so many people out in the world think Christians are corny, and that they're just these, we hold hands, we sing kumbaya. It's like that. Y'all do some weird crap. Are y'all normal? Like I don't know what y'all doing. And obviously, there's gonna be some things that the world doesn't get that we do. Like we sing worship to God. We sit and we learn from an old book. Like some things they're just not going to get, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, I wish Christians would step up and go, when someone invites you, or when someone invites someone to the church, that they don't go, oh, I don't want to go there. I know who goes to that church. Y'all don't look like anything you say to believe. And so I don't think that's so much me answering the question of what do I wish unbelievers knew about Christianity, but I guess that's more of what I wish Christians did inside of Christianity is actually represent well the Jesus they claim to follow.
I mean, we're always going to be different.
Right.
Christians are always, heck.
But different for different sake, I think, is dumb. But we're going to be different naturally if we follow Jesus.
Right. I mean, to say, yeah, I mean, I love the tagline from The Chosen. Get used to different.
Is that really the tagline from The Chosen? Get used to different?
Get used to different, because it is true. I mean, when you follow Christ, following Christ is different. It's a different way of the natural thinking, because why? We are naturally sinful, and we are naturally drawn to our own desires and things that aren't good for other people. That's what we are naturally drawn to. We're naturally drawn to look after ourselves and be prideful and angry and hateful and spiteful and lustful, and that's what our natural cause is. That's what the world naturally does. And so to not do those things is to be different from the world. We're called to be different from the world. We're called to be set apart for God. I get what you're saying. You're saying,
and I guess this is more so not the fact of we look just like you, but I'm more thinking of, I wish people in the unbelieving world actually knew that we actually lived by the gospel we preach.
But the problem is that,
if that makes sense.
No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're they go to church on Sunday and then they don't look any different from the world. That's the problem.
Right.
That's the big issue. Okay, you go hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and then you
turn around and do this.
And you're at the bar the next night getting drunk.
Well, it reminds me of, and I don't want to go too much into the conversation, but the whole Ravi Zacharias thing that just came out, where he was going all over the world preaching about Jesus, but now all of a sudden, the truth of the reality of all these sexual misconducts and victims he left along the way, and they've proven to all be true. You know,
it's a sad thing, and
but that's the call for us as Christians to go that people are watching. So what are they seeing?
Right,
because we're called to show our faith by our words.
This is where the sanctification process comes in. That you've been justified by Christ, through Christ, in Christ. Now what? You should be a new creation. You should be sanctified in Christ, through Christ, and by Christ. It's not of ourself again, but it is a fruit that comes from the root, and the root is Christ. And if we're grafted in to the root, then we'll produce the fruit of Christ.
Right.
And what does that look like? Well,
love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness,
exactly.
gentleness.
And what does all that
faith,
mean?
self-control.
Love. It's all love. The greatest of these is charity. What is charity? Love.
Charity's love, right.
You can preach with the tongues of many. You can prophesy. You can do all these things. You can cast out demons. But if you have not love, you have nothing. You have nothing.
So, now that you're like processing this out, I kind of like have this thought of like, oh, I wish the outside world would think Christianity like this. But does the outside world think of Christianity like this because of how we're living our lives?
I think it is. I think it's very much so that there's a lot of pew warmers. There's a lot of coffee mug Christians out there. There's a lot of people that want to play church, and that's kind of where I was getting at too with mine. Of I wish they knew that not all Christians are alike, because broad is the gate to destruction, and many are there. And the way to God is very narrow, and few will find it. That speaks something powerful. That means that this road of Christianity, of following Christ, is not easy. It's not the norm. It's not the thing that is widely accepted. It's something that's different and looks different,
and this is that hard thing, because we understand that there's nothing we can do to make people decide to follow Jesus, because God is the one who has to transform the hearts, but we still have the responsibility to go. It's this awkward tension that we'll never understand.
There's an obedience factor, right?
Right.
So God does the work, and we just have to be obedient. That's what it's always been about. From Abraham to David, it's always been about obedience to God. To the Israelites, to Moses, it's all about obedience.
Obedience and faithfulness.
If you're my child, you'll obey.
My child, when they hear their voice, they come.
Right. It's all obedience. And so we have to be obedient. God doesn't need us for anything. God doesn't need us to go out and present the gospel to anybody. God doesn't need us to do anything. God doesn't need us to pray. God doesn't need us to visit the sick or take care of the poor. God doesn't need us for anything. God is God. We put God in a box and we think, okay, God has to use me as a vessel. God doesn't need to use you as a vessel. He can do whatever he wants. He's God. He's allowing us and giving us the opportunity to be obedient servants. And that's where it's at. Are you going to be an obedient servant? Can I say, well done, my good and faithful servant? Servant. It's funny because people think of servants. They're like, oh, servants, slavery. This is like horrible. Okay, I'm just got to.
The bond servant.
Yeah, I've just got to. There's a huge difference. And one of these days we'll probably get into the podcast. But there's a huge difference between what we think is slavery, like American slavery, and like slavery of the Bible. They were two drastically different things. The slavery of a Bible was like, couldn't pay off.
Now, there was actual slavery.
Well, of course.
We can't forget that.
But that wasn't done by, like, we're talking about biblical slavery, like slavery in the Jewish land, Israel's, right?
Okay.
What happens? Every 7 years, there was the year of Jubilee, where the slaves would be released, right? In Israel, right?
From their bond.
From their bonds. Why were they in bonds? Well, because
they chose, but they weren't forced into it. They chose because of it too.
Because of a debt or because they couldn't feed themselves or whatever, so they would go do these things.
It was actually a way of protecting the
same with if a family sold their land because they needed money, that same years of Jubilee, that money would be given back, or that land would be given back, and everything would be made as it was before. So it's a drastic difference. So when Christ
it was set up honestly, it was set up to take care of one another.
Right. So when Christ came as a what? Suffering
servant.
He came to serve. So why do we think we're any better than the master? Mm-hmm. We are servants. We're supposed to serve not only God, but serve each other. That's what love is about. It shows love. And so why does God need us? He doesn't need us. He's just giving us the opportunity. This is an opportunity. This is something we should be excited about, that, hey, God has chose us to be servants. We should obey. We should want to obey because he's chosen us. He's given us this great opportunity. But we don't see it as an opportunity. We see it as American slavery, where we're in bonds and chains. And that's not the slavery or the servanthood that he's talking about. So that's just the way
That's fascinating.
Anyways.
There's a book that was written by John Stott, which, side note, if you want another good podcast to listen to, Premier Radio from the UK, who does Unbelievable and Ask NT or anything, they just dropped a new one where they take all of John Stott's sermons from the archives and they're just posting them every single week. It's super cool. But he wrote a book called Why I'm a Christian, and he kind of talks about, the intellectual thought, the, moral, like these conversations we always have. Mm-hmm. But this was his big triumphal sentence, and I think you're going to love it. You ready?
All right.
So he said, the most significant factor lies elsewhere in terms of why I'm a Christian. The most significant factor lies elsewhere. And it is on this that I intend to concentrate this final chapter. Why I am a Christian is due ultimately neither to the influence of my parents and teachers, nor to my own personal decision for Christ, but to the quote-unquote hound of heaven. That is, it is due to Christ himself who pursued me relentlessly, even when I was running away from him in order to go my own way. And if it was not for the gracious pursuit of the hound of heaven, I would today be the scrap heap of wasted and discarded lives.
Yeah. Don't get any better than that. That was good.
That's a
very
quote.
True.
That's a quote.
Very true, though.
So at the end of the day, why are you a Christian? It wasn't the intellectual thought or my own decision or my teachers or my upbringing. It was the fact that,
Christ directed my steps. And he was the heaven hound.
the hound of heaven. Now, this was also written years ago when it was now we're like, the what? What's that? The hound of heaven. Yep. But this is why
somebody that's like,
and this is why,
hey Mark, they're hounding you,
right? And this goes back to why I think the song. Now, I still don't like the word reckless, but this is why the song "Reckless Love" is exploded, where the fact of Christ pursued me. Like, if we're called into him, I'm not saying I like the word. I'm just saying why it's a very popular song.
I just struggle with, because God is never reckless.
I agree. But I'm just saying, but the reason why it's so popular is because I realized that God literally pursued me. And so that should cause us to rejoice and triumph in what Christ has done, but then should cause us to humble ourselves before men. Because I'm no better than you. I'm no better than anybody else. Walking across the street, I ain't better than nobody. But a lot of times Christians like to go, oh, I'm a follower of Jesus, so I need to get my way. Y'all persecute me because you're censoring me on faith. That's not persecution. Because last time I checked, they ain't dragging John Piper onto the street and putting a bullet to his head and saying, you follow Jesus? Yep, that's persecution. Yep. But
I'm just a beggar showing other beggars where the bread's at.
I like that quote. I'm just a beggar showing other beggars where the bread's at.
We might have to use that quote.
I like that one. Is that where we should end this one? I'm just a beggar.
I'm just
telling
a beggar.
Other beggars.
Hey, beggars, this is where the bread. This is who giving out the bread.
So let's go get it.
I got me some. I'm telling others about, hey, there's the bread down there, man.
But any other final thoughts for this whole focus? Because we're trying to refocus and center ourselves.
I think that's a good place to end it. Is, hey, I'm a Christian because Christ has pursued me and helped me to be one.
And now
I got to be obedient and tell the other beggars where the bread's at.
Go be a good beggar.
Time for Fun Facts with Fuller.
All right, my dude, let me pick my nose, do all my, at the end of the day, it goes back to fat, I'm ready to crack my neck before I do the intro, all the weird quirks that we do on RTC. But my dude, we have had so many fun facts, and you have yet to run out of a fun fact. I'm so curious to see when you run out of a fun fact. That's going to be fun.
We're coming up on 100 episodes. That means we're almost 100 fun facts now.
That's a butt ton of fun facts. Wow. But so I always ask if you have one. I know you do. I don't know why I always ask if you have a fun fact. You always have a fun fact.
And about every third episode, you say this exact line.
I know. I'm sorry, guys. But Fuller, what fun fact you got for us tonight, my dude?
All right, the fun fact of the day. Mark and listeners, did you know that the pound or the hashtag symbol isn't officially called hashtag or pound?
Wait. It's not called the pound?
It's not called a pound or a hashtag.
Hashtag. I mean, obviously, but I thought it was always just the pound key. Because even when you call someone, they're like,
press pound for further options.
Yeah, or after you put in your PIN number followed by the pound sign.
Right. So it's a technical name, or its technical name is Octothorpe.
Yeah, thank God we don't say that. Octothorpe this, Octothorpe that.
Octothorpe. So, if you want to follow.
If you want to follow us, Octothorpe Real Talk. No, that'd be bad.
So the octo means 8 to refer to its points. Though reports disagree on where Thorpe came from, some claim it was named after an Olympian, Jim Thorpe, while others argue it was just not a nonsense suffix.
So at the end of the day, we really don't know where the term even comes from.
Well, we know where octo comes from, but yeah, Octothorpe is what it's actually, that's the technical name, Octothorpe.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I feel like we need to write a blog post about this. Why you need to up your Octothorpe game for your social media handles.
Octothorpe Real Talk Christian Podcast.
Dude, hashtags are one of those things where, I use hashtags on most of our Instagram posts, and sometimes they do great, and then sometimes they don't do jack squat. And it's hard to always figure it out.
Like the Octothorpe, The Chosen giveaway that we had. I'm just saying, I was a little disappointed in the turnout.
Yeah. It's okay, though. We still love you. We still love you guys. But this is why, because some people might be listening to this right now and be like, what, you guys had a giveaway? I didn't know you guys had a giveaway.
We have giveaways.
That's why you got to follow us on social media, whether Facebook, Real Talk Christian Podcast, or Instagram, Real Talk Christian Podcast. You can email us. We got to get that email list tidied up a little bit so when we have giveaways, we can tell the people.
Yeah, because, right now, we just kind of, sometimes we mention it on the podcast. Yeah, sometimes it's just sporadic. Sometimes, like the Chosen giveaway was just that was
just we're doing it.
We're just, I'm going to do this, and we're going to just do it.
And here's the deal. Every time we've done a giveaway, there have not been a lot of entries in these giveaways.
I know. I'm shocked. It's like
people
free
are like,
stuff.
I never win anything. Well, you literally have a very high shot, even though we have hundreds of listeners that listen to every single episode.
And it's not like we ask them to do hard. It's like tag, comment, that's it.
Share the post.
And it's like free stuff. Free to you. You don't even have to pay shipping. We pay the shipping.
So how about this? Okay, how about this? I'm going to mark in my show notes. We're going to do a giveaway right now.
What?
We're doing it.
A giveaway?
I'm not even ready for this. We're going to give away.
We just randomly all right, let's just give something away.
Let's just give some stuff away. We're going to give away the RTC tote bag, the lifestyle tote bag. We haven't done that one yet.
Wow.
We're going to do the RTC tote bag giveaway. Janelle's going to want this one because she really wants it. She's going to enter. Janelle, your name can legit be entered this time. So how should we make people try to win this?
Oh, man, I don't know.
I got some ideas.
I think we should Octothorpe.
We should Octothorpe it. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so how about this? If you leave a review or have left a review, you have to screenshot it and email it to us, realtalkchristianpodcast@gmail.com.
But that's only a few people.
But if you don't have Apple iTunes,
what about the people that do Spotify?
They can listen to it. They can leave us a review on Facebook, and they can leave reviews on Facebook, and then after that, they can do it. Yeah.
So just screenshot your
or you know what? I need to do this still. I will do this before the episode. Or we're going to, should we do this? Maybe we should talk about this because we don't have a Google My Business yet where people can leave reviews for us on Google itself. We don't have that yet, but we're not a business. So, but we're not going to do that. We're talking out loud. So we're going to do Apple Podcasts.
This is what happens when we just randomly say, we're going to do a giveaway.
Yeah, let's do Apple Podcasts. Let's do Facebook reviews and screenshot those and send it to us.
Okay. What about Instagram?
Instagram?
See, here's where it gets
hard. Okay, here's a fun one. These are the only three. We're going to do something different, all right? So review. If you already left one, just screenshot and send it to us.
Okay.
Facebook, leave a review and send it to us.
Okay.
Or text your friend or message your friend one of our episodes.
Let's do new reviews, though.
No, not the old reviews?
Not the old ones, because they've gotten the mini swags and stuff. So I mean, they can do another review. That's fine. I'm okay with them doing like another review on like, Facebook or something.
Or okay, review on Apple iTunes, review on Facebook, or if you message or text a friend an RTC episode and then screenshot and email it to us or message us, we'll get you in the drawing for the free tote bag. How about that, ladies and gentlemen?
So how long is this going to go on for?
Till the next episode drops. So next Thursday, 1 week from the time of release is when you have to do it.
Okay.
How about that?
All right. Sounds good.
How about that? We're about to run out of our music. We have 15 seconds left before our music ends. So just like always, guys, RealTalkChristianPodcast.com, place to go for everything. Get your name in the giveaway. We want to give away that tote bag. Hit us up, RealTalkChristianPodcast@gmail.com. Whoo, we got 5 seconds. But until next time, guys.
Take it easy.